fear was already in me. Then we watched that pornographic thing. They never told us that this is what you're going to do, but you would just see. So we watched it, and then after that they took us to the dining room. We ate the food. Then after eating the food, they started now distributing us to different rooms. So
everyone with his or her own room?
Yes, and I'm going to tell you my life in my own room. Because other rooms, I don't know what was happening there. One of the guys took me to my room, but when we reached the corridor, he told me to undress. But he gave me 3 tight pants. Very tight like this. No shirt, no jumper, no anything. So I entered the room and he looked me in.
Starting off with being dressed in skinny and revealing pants, he then was isolated from the rest of his colleagues, as each was given a different room. However, as these events unfolded, his trusted contact person, Charles, was of no trace.
How is this room designed? It has one big master bed. It has a CCTV camera in the corner that monitors everything that is being done in the room. It has a section that has the toilet and bathroom and one window. This man told me that don't even dare touch the curtains of that window. I remembered the phone call I made to my mother.
Oh, promising her a good job.
You know, very many things started running in my mind, but I did not know what was going to happen next. Shortly, they brought in a girl. But this girl...
That's the very day you arrived?
Yes. That girl, it was now in the night. That girl, I came with her in the car. And she was Bridget. But do you know where Bridget was got? Bridget was got from T1. So Charles lied Bridget that if you fall in love with me, I'm going to get you a job. So that is how Bridget was got. Now when Bridget entered, she did not realize that there is a camera in the corner. She started to cry, lament, do everything, cursing. She talked to me, told me how Charles did what. We were shocked to see these guys come and pick her. When she was talking a lot of things, I was thinking of a lot of things, but you know, sleep is strong. Finally, I slept off. There are things I don't want to think about, but I'm going to talk about them such that the public can know that human trafficking is real. They would serve us breakfast, lunch, and supper, good meals. So after breakfast, this lady came in the room with a gentleman. They had a script and a camera. They fixed their camera, so this lady dropped the script on the ground. That is when I had a glance at it. I read teenage sex. Shortly, they brought in 2 girls, and one of these girls was Bridget, the one of last night. They commanded us to undress. We undressed. And then they told, this lady had a stopwatch. So she told us that, I'm going to instruct you. You're going to be doing what I tell you to do. Zona, it was nasty. This thing was so nasty. I couldn't imagine that it was me doing these things.
Were you sober the whole time?
That time I was sober. That first time I was sober.
Yes. How many cameras were in the room?
He had only 1 camera.
Oh, okay.
So what happened, this lady showed us the script. She said, you're going to do this sex style. And we started off. She went outside, then she brought a drug.
What kind of drug?
I don't know. Was
it something to swallow or inject?
No, injection. Then they injected that drug in me through this part.
And they used both of them?
Yes.
At the same time?
Yes. They made us do nasty things, like how a pornographic video is. So now they left me in the room, but I suffered in the room with the drug. Shockingly, in the evening, they came back with 2 boys. I had to go through the same script, this time around with the boys. Then they left me in the room.
Every time they left you in the room after all that had happened, what were you thinking about?
Tears.
I know.
2 weeks, I think, they took me out of the room and we sat in the sitting room. Then they told us that we are going to show you something. One of you guys was trying to escape. They put a seat in front of us. They brought a colleague, one of the, you might in the car were 3 boys. So one of the boys, he was called Sam Motesi. They tied him. This is the boy I was with in the car. And then they put Kavera on his head. You know someone dying in your eyes like this. Now this thing impacted more fear in us, and this is the moment where I decided to totally submit to these people. For 2 months, I was in that room, and that was the life. Today they would bring the girls in the morning, then in the evening they bring 2 boys. We do the shooting, then the following day they don't come. But I received 6 to 7 sugar mummies.
How did you manage to escape?
God just gave me an opportunity. They had gotten a client in the UK. This Mzee man, he was an old man. He wanted a young boy that he would sodomize.
After 3 months of intense sexual exploitation, the nightmare was just not about to stop. The plan was to have him further extend his services to an old man in the UK. The hiccup was he needed travel documents, most importantly, a passport.
Now, one day I just saw this woman coming in with a laptop, and Charles.
Finally he appears.
Charles showed up again. And then they connected their laptop, they put on that Skype thing, and I saw a picture of Mzee. So now they told me to move as if I'm modeling around in front of the laptop. Wow. So this guy liked my what? My body structure. And then he said, yeah, I've liked this one. Then he said, facilitate his travel. So because I'm not a Kenyan, I don't know Swahili, and my real names are not even close to Kenyan names. So there is no way they would get me a Kenyan passport.
Kenyan passport, yes. Being Ugandan, Sunday had to be brought back home before his trip abroad to acquire the needed.
So that's the opportunity God gave me. So when I heard of coming back to my country, somehow my senses were sharpened.
You woke up?
Yes. Then I started pretending to Charles now. Like he played me.
Like sweet talking him, he said, now let me play
I started playing him also. I showed him that I was okay with going to the UK. I showed him how I also wanted to catch the plane. That is, we are traveling, coming back.
How did you travel back?
In Semnuwaka. So, but in the car, there are some places he talked about. And with Charles, he had come on 2 things. To take me to the UK and also to recruit more people to take back to Kenya. So he talked of happening places. And this is where I caution the youth to always be conscious, most especially students. So they hang around.
Children who are running from school, going to clubs, who want to hang out, those are the places they target.
So they are hang around those places to target those youth who are still energetic. Yeah. When we reached Mbale, because I had put myself in a situation that I'm used with them, then Charles said that in Mbale bus park, that's where they parked the car. Then Charles said that let's get out and get what to eat. So when I got out, my mind changed. I just moved. I did not even look behind. That's how I escaped from them. The moment I stepped out of the car,
you just walked.
I just took my way.
Did you run?
I ran.
Did Charles try to call you or scream?
No, not even anything.
And the driver?
They did not.
They just knew they've lost you.
So I stopped cars, and there is one Land Cruiser that stopped. Then I pleaded to the man. I told him that, please help me, drop me in Kampala. I've just escaped from some traffickers.
And indeed, whether with luck or faith, he did escape from his capturers.
Because I remember in that room, I prayed to God. I remember there is a prayer I made, and I said that, I prayed it in Luganda, and this is how I said it. I said that Mukama nsonyiwanze ndi mwana wa muntu. Because there are moments whereby I wanted to refuse. And even with the way I was shivering, not believing that I have escaped.
Yes.
I just believed that it was God doing all this. This guy told me, enter. Then he asked me a few questions as I was talking to him, but I was shivering, not believing that I have escaped. I wasn't believing that I was out of Charles's hands. When we reached City Square, he dropped me in City Square. So in City Square, that is when I went to CPS. So when I reached there, they took me to some department. It is human rights, child's rights. That is where I was taken. I made the statement and I was pleading to these people. I told them, Banange, I've escaped from Charles in the morning from Mbale. Do something. I've left behind some people. Then the woman told me that now you're going to go to CIID. That was in the evening in Chibuli. I don't have money on me. So I had now to foot from CPS to Chibuli. I reached Chibuli. Thank God this man had not left his office. I talked to him. He told me that, Baka, you're not the only person
who was reported such a case.
We've had cases of such things, but don't worry, we are going to work on you. I even went to SIU, Special Investigations Unit. My statement is there. They opened for me a case file. In fact, I went to one of the newspapers. I put my story in the papers. And the case file number was put there. So now my mother reads this paper.
Did you try calling your mother when you had just
I
come?
did not. Why didn't I call my mother? Because I didn't want her to have any problem. Remember, she had problems.
You going in the first place.
Yes. So I didn't want to put her on pressure. And remember the promise I made, the way I convinced her on phone. So I didn't want her to know that I've got any problems in Kenya. Then another thing, I could not go to Chitende because the woman is demanding me money.
Oh yeah.
So I resorted to sleeping in the bus park. That's where I would sleep. Then in the morning, I chased with police. So now when I reached a moment when my body, they will no longer put drugs in me. So now my body started coming to its normal state. It started reacting. That's when I started getting pus through my private part, blood, getting wounds. This thing scared me the more. So in this process of moving, I would move to these organizations. I just read a signpost.
You go and
I
try.
enter, I tell them my problem. The person who feels for me gives me 5,000, but they can't help as an organization. I move to another one. So that is how I would get the small facilitation. Until I went to a live health center in Namuongo. That is where I went and they gave me free.
Free what?
Free medication. They tested my blood, they tested everything when I narrated the story to them. And I had almost all the sexually transmitted diseases. Gonorrhea, syphilis, the STIs, the what. But I thank God for one thing, that I didn't get AIDS.
That is a miracle.
But the doctor said that now, as for now, the test is negative, but we don't trust it. We have to give it some window period because you have just escaped. Life became very hard. Sleeping in a bus park became hard, but I had no option.
After a while on streets, no meals and bedding at the bus park, he was in frantic need of help. This saw the young man confide in a journalist on condition that his true identity wouldn't be disclosed upon publishing the story. The terms were never met, and this led to the death of his mother.
Now when I finally got frustrated and fed up of everything, that is when I thought of my mother. Then I said, I have tried my level best. I have failed. Let me go back to my mother. She is my mother. She will always be my mother. Then I gave her a call. Her number was off. Like I was saying, when my story was put in the papers, she read the article. She came to know the owner of the case file. Like after 2 weeks, my mother passed on. How did I come to know this? My mother had a friend. So sometimes whenever I would go to Mbara, I would go to a friend's place. That is where I would sleep. So I called her. When I called her...
When you called your mother and it was off?
Yes, I called the other one.
Okay.
Then I told her, I'm trying to reach mommy, but her number is off. I want to talk to mommy. Then she said, we've been looking for you. Your mother read your story. The police of Mbarara did as much as possible to find out that it was you. When they confirmed it was you, it was pressure on your mother's side, and then after like 2 weeks, your mother passed on. We buried her long time.
Oh.
Because she had gotten married to a Muslim man.
Yeah,
and even the man had
them,
taken the 2 children they had to Tanzania because that's where the man's origin is. Banange, now I could not believe it. I'm not getting help. The person I expected to be of help is no more. I ran mad. They took me to Butabika.
Who took you to Butabika?
Some gentleman from All Saints.
The passing on of his mother was simply a bonus to his ailing body and psychological trauma. Sunday got mentally ill, but yet again was lucky to have a volunteer who saw him off to Butabika Mental Institution, where he was admitted to the drug and alcohol unit for 3 months. Don't go away. When we come back, we'll have to find out what exactly happened in Butabika and how he dealt with the situation there.